Okay, good morning, everyone. Here we are, our Friday morning reflection, Q&A, and yes, as is in the comments, we got some rain this morning. It looks rainy, cloudy, cool, kind of fantastic. Yeah, there's that kind of smell of the first rain is really it's always uplifting, kind of sense of freshness in the air. So that's our morning in white salmon. Although it looks like we got rain in Ukiah. My goodness. Okay, that's good news. Yeah, see how much rain they can get in California. Whatever it is certainly welcome. Okay, as we begin our day, something that I was thinking about, of course, is this age-old Buddhist question of self and not self, and how to hold that, how to use it. And I think that's the operative word, is how to use it, as opposed to how do I believe in it, how do I philosophize about it, and how do I conceptualize it. All of that is just extra additions to something that's sort of complicating the uncomplicated, and so it's just really trying to come back to a direct experiential mode of what is the experience, and of course the one wants to temper direct experience with the perspective of the Buddha, not of course there's all sorts of how do you say, people's later ideas about what the Buddha taught, what he believes and all that, but it's good to go back to the just the basic teachings, and particularly on this, which is this aspect of self and not self, is something that is so deeply kind of entrenched in the human psyche, to be bound up and entangled in me. I mean, on a logical basis, I mean, what could be more important? So but of course that gets us into a lot of trouble and pain and suffering. One of the things that comes to mind is years ago when I was still living in Thailand, and when Ajahn Buddhadasa was still alive, although he was quite elderly then. He was over 80, and I went to visit, pay respects, and I had I had paid respects to him quite a few times over the years. And one of the things I asked him, knowing that he tended to teach following themes. He'd pick up a theme, and then he would explore it, teach on it, expound on it, go back and forth around a theme for um, months, oftentimes, and until he kind of ran the course of it, and sometimes some of them were quite long. It was like he did a series on dependent origination, subsequently his disciples gathered together his talks and expositions on when he was doing that, and it came to 2 large volumes of books like yay thick, and similar Four Noble Truths. He just kept going. Just a couple of years of just not straying from that theme, that topic, and he was pretty both courageous and relentless in doing that. But so I knew he tended to follow themes, and so then I asked him, now that you're getting old, and he had already said that he was really approaching the end of his life and was everything was sort of winding down, and I think he only lived for a year or two after that meeting, and so I said, you are approaching the end of your life, and what theme are you trying to pass on that as it's coming to the end, you have this what, and he just laughed and says, "Oh, these days I'm not teaching very much at all." I said, I just keep telling people, don't be selfish. and it was so beautiful the way he said it, and of course it is the heart of the Buddha's teaching, in that sense of how do we step back from that selfing, self-ishing, self-obsessing, self-importancing, self-worrying, selfishing. So it's a really important theme to explore, because there's so much confusion and suffering that we carry around the sense of self. And it doesn't mean that there isn't a place for a well-adjusted, balanced, wise, compassionate self. That's in the Mangala Sutta. The Buddha saying, enter the high discourse on the highest blessings. One of the things that the Buddha said was a highest blessing was the self well directed, atta samapyaniti, the self well directed, well trained, probably, and that's a really one needs to train yourself. There isn't like a nothing there. The Buddha's doctrine, teaching on not self is not that there isn't anything, but there is a self that we need to take responsibility for. But we also have to recognize its kind of its ephemeral nature, its insubstantial nature, its um, morphing and mutating nature, and that yeah, it is, and whatever one holds on to of saying, "Oh, this is myself," um, is going to change. It is impermanent. It is insubstantial. So that the freedom of not self is the freedom that one doesn't have to carry around the burden of trying to solidify the sense of self. There is this quality, and the same with in the Dhammapada. The Atahi Atano Nato is a very famous, well-known verse in the Dhammapada. The self is the refuge of the self, and that where else would we find another refuge? And of course, it's that, and it comes back to that training, a well-directed, well-trained, well considered, and it is this steeping oneself in, say, a refuge other than me, or trying to prop up a me, but recognizing that we can direct our attention to, say Buddha Dhamma Sangha, which is not a how do you say, a belief system, but is more what kind of principles do I want to ground my being in, and so those principles of wisdom, of compassion, of purity, those are qualities that one can be um, finding a home in, and of course, as soon as you come up with the belief that I'm wise, I am most wise, I'm I'm more wise than that person, I'm more compassionate, and that's the self trying to make a stand, but it's the of course it all comes back to relinquishment, and a sense of not being selfish, like as Ajahn Buddhadasa said. It's a very simple way of being able to draw on the resources that we have. We have our uh, awareness, attention, mindfulness. We have the ability to reflect and discern. We have a sense of what is a source of happiness and well-being. What's a source of suffering and difficulty, and to really pay attention to that. And that's that's one of the benefits that the Buddha says of having sila, is that one's um, one it doesn't have remorse or regret internally for oneself, but then also one has a sense of sort of comfort and ease in the midst of mm, 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 assemblies of people, groups of people. One has a clear sense of well-being, integrity that one carries into social interactions. One has a guidepost, and that's that's really a blessing. It's not about propping up a false sense of self. It's just is that is as a comfort or an ease and clarity in, well, what is it that is really beneficial? What is it that leads to suffering? What is it that leads out of suffering? There's quality, and and this is very much, say, entangled with or bound up with compassion. Say the Buddha's wisdom teachings do not separate oneself from other people. One doesn't separate oneself from, quote unquote, the world. It gives one the space to, and the kind of confidence to feel compassion, to be able to to be, so to listen to one's own heart, and in a compassionate way, but also to be present for others in the world with compassion. Ajahn Munindo tells a story of him as a young monk being confused, suffering, distraught even, and then going over to pay respects to Ajahn Chah, and try to ask for guidance from Ajahn Chah, and he and of course that he did that through a translator. He was still a young monk who wasn't very fluent in the Thai language yet. But all during the time where he's telling the translator what he wanted to ask, and the translator listening, Ajahn Munindo said that one of the things that was really healing for him, or encouraging for him, was that the way that Ajahn Chah listened. He just listened. He gave his attention to him. He paid attention to him as a person, paid attention to what was being said, and then when the questions and kind of the story came out of all his doubts and difficulties, then Ajahn Chah sort of said, "Yeah, I've been there. I've been like that. I've had so many doubts at times. I thought my head would explode." And that this Ajahn Munindo, just, it was a huge relief for him. And of course, Ajahn Chah probably did give some good advice, but the I think the thing that sticks in Ajahn Munindo's mind even to this day is the kind of the compassion and caring attention that was given, and that had as big an effect probably as the whatever advice he was given, and that is really it's really important, because um, you have our tendency is to, I mean, even when we're relating to ourselves, but and as well as with others, especially when it's around suffering, it triggers our own kind of fear or discomfort or dis-ease, and we want to fix it. We want to, you want to have it done with somehow. And of course, that's exactly exactly the problem. Is it's the it's not seen clearly. So then it's really uh, mm, it's really important to be able to yeah, to listen to it. And that's, of course, I think the teachings of the Buddha with uh, the emphasis on, of course, with mindfulness, awareness, but on integrity, on virtue, on compassion, on loving kindness, on patience, uh, as well as that discernment, investigation. It gives us a solid base to be able to experience and reflect on things, and that has a certain transformative power. Ajahn Munindo also went on to give uh, uh, relate a story that had recently happened. A senior monk from one of the monasteries in England had been going somewhere and out of the monastery, and was um, he had a bus transfer. He was waiting for a bus at the bus station, and which is fine, and he was just sort of waiting patiently for the bus to finally show up, and just as it was getting close for the time for the bus to be coming and going, and only had a couple minutes or a few minutes, and a homeless person came up to him and started talking. He was looked in pretty desperate circumstances, and started talking to him about his difficulties and his marriage falling apart and not having access to his children and losing his job and losing his living situation, and the monk kind of realized that he had limited time because his bus was coming, and he said he made a particular effort to just really be present for this person, because he knew he was going to have to leave soon. So he just really uh, gave him his full attention and listened. And I'm not sure what sort of exchange they had. Uh, uh, and then he said he had to apologize and uh, um, leave in order to catch his bus. And then he went, back to the monastery. And then it was several weeks later, as a person showed up, and it was the same homeless person. But this time he was cleaned up. He was with his wife, and they both came to the monastery, and he came to express his gratitude for the exchange they had. And he said that one of the things that he said it was really a catalyst for him to reflect and understand that he a major problem of his kind of in his life was that he'd never really listened to his wife, and he, and that had really been and having that exchange with him, seeing how um, that monk had really been gave him his full attention, what that made him feel. And he said, and that he felt the same thing with his own. That was a source of his problems with his wife, with his children. And he went back and kind of reestablished the connection again. So that uh, um, compassion is. You don't have to go out and kind of quote unquote save the world. Just learn how to be kind of attentive, learn how to not be selfish, because everything is, as long as we're selfish, self-obsessing, self-absorbing, self-proliferating, we don't have space for anybody or anything. And that is really, it's such a huge foundation for freeing the heart from suffering. So those are some reflections this morning, and there. I'll take a look and see what questions we have. Yes, from Moria. I notice when I get scared, I clamp down on a self and want control. Once I remind myself this Dhamma will pass and I have other tools, I do better. Yeah, I think that's one of the things is there is this desperate need to control and think that if we had control, then everything would be all right. And I doubt that. I think so much of the and it's not that you're sort of consign yourself to chaos and look, everything's just because everything's chaotic, then it's fine. But it's that again, it's that sense of self-ing that it's this. It wants control. It needs control. It feels it should have control, and it becomes very threatened and fearful, and just being able to relax around that and sort of okay, just how do I what do I want to where do I want to place my ground? Where's my ground? And of course, that's okay. Recognizing impermanence, recognizing uncertainty. Of course, that's all the brilliance of Ajahn Chah's. One of the main ways he would express anicca, which is normally translated as impermanence, and quite correctly, that he translates uncertain, unsure, and that's because impermanence is like an objective way of looking. Okay, if things are changing, everything is objective, but uncertain is subjective. It's how one feels about it. I don't feel very sure, and yeah, it can be disconcerting. But that's it's you realize, well, that's or as Lovasamero keeps saying over and over again, it's like this. And you realize, oh, yeah, okay, so, yeah, it's like this. Uh, and all of a sudden you've got a place to be present for it. Okay, next question. Could you describe a typical day in your life? A follow-up. Do you have a lot of routines? Sometimes I feel that people tend to get bored with life when it's always the same. Do you try to switch things up a bit sometimes in your monk life? Um, well, yeah, from the outside, I lead an extremely boring life. And by the standards of the world, and that's extremely boring. But I think one of the things that comes to mind is a time when I was actually in a period of like a year's retreat, and I was going for the meal, and I met somebody I hadn't seen for about 6 months, and somebody I'd known for a long time and known family, and so she was asking questions, and then asked what my what my daily routine was, and especially being in a period of retreat and solitude, and not just get up, do some yoga, do some exercises, sit meditation, have a cup of tea, do some do some walking meditation, sitting meditation, go for the meal, go back to the forest, do walking meditation, sitting meditation, through the afternoon, do some reading, have a cup of tea, sit meditation, walk meditation, and go to bed. And she looked at me with horror. And isn't that boring? And and well, no, it's only things only get boring when we aren't mindful, and of course we can lack mindfulness when we have meditation routines and prescribed solitude. And we can lack mindfulness when we're busy, engaged in the world. I think that's it's a part of the kind of like modern life is extremely boring for many people. It's not because of lack of things that people are doing, but it's because of a lack of being present, a lack of clarity, a lack of a mind able to be present with itself. So that so that has it comes back to mindfulness, and yes, sometimes you do switch things up a bit, because sometimes things do get stale, like changing a meditation, changing a reflection, um, going for a walk somewhere, but yeah, there is, but it's within bounds. Certainly here at the Hermitage, um, yeah, get up at 3:30, do my exercises, go to puja at 5 o'clock, um, have breakfast, do a live stream, finish a live stream, go on alms round. So, I mean, here part of the daily life is our alms round, and going off on and coming back, having the meal, trying to keep up with maintenance of the place, keep up with the with emails and correspondence, and then having enough time to continue meditation and some reading and ongoing practice and into the night. So it's a simple routine, but yeah, it's certainly I don't find it boring, and I always found that was one of the things that was a big motivation for me to actually come and live in the monastery when I had, I was pretty young, but I already felt totally bored with life, and I had, you know, gone off to go to university so I could get out of my boring hometown, and I was bored with university and studies, and I went off traveling the world, and I went to I don't know how many countries and traveling, and I was bored with that. So I found that really boring. But coming to the monastery, that really engaged my interest, and studying the Buddha's teachings. I mean, that really engaged my interest. And still, I mean, I've been a monk now for, I think this is my 48th year as a monk. So yeah, it's not boring yet. So I'm expecting it's not going to get boring. Okay. That's what I was saying. Yes, good. There's somebody that's found it useful. Yeah, I think just realizing that some of our own problems, difficulties, are not. It's not just us. It's we're it feels that way, and of course that is one of the benefits of mindfulness and compassion, and that sense of that Ajahn Buddhadasa's encouragement. Don't be selfish, because it does help to take us out of our self, and then being able to recognize others, and that sense of empathy, sympathy towards ourselves and others is a really helpful way of guiding ourselves. Okay. Thank you for sharing the story about Ajahn Minto. Sometimes when listening, distracting feelings or thoughts, responses, other memories, etc. arise. Then attention goes to observing that for a few moments instead of listening. How do we handle this? I think one of the things is again not getting caught in control. Like I need to listen, so I've got to control my mind, so I'm listening, and that's a setup for because we're already judging ourselves, and was just sort of being recognizing that when one is listening, or when one's attending to something, it's quite ordinary to have some sort of feelings or thoughts, and but that isn't what. But when we're intent on control and coming from a place of I should be listening fully, then we start to judge ourselves, and then it gives it undue importance, as opposed to it's quite ordinary to that perception, memories, feeling, thought these they bubble up, but then they don't they don't have any substance if we don't give it to it. And our primary, just like the recollecting our primary intent, and then we can be at ease with that, and then that kind of attention really manifests. So a lot of it is just being able to step back from the that need to control, or that worry that we should be living we should be living up to this ideal that we set for our uh, ability to listen. So yeah, it doesn't take very long for us as as human beings to complicate things. Just being patient with that. A lot of it is patience, uh, and that is uh, again, patience is not just a kind of a dull putting up with something till it's over, but it's being patient with something is to have a sense of ease with it, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, whether it's whatever it is. We can be attentive, alert, and at ease with it, and that's how we can really learn. Yes, Eleanor's. Yeah, I'm sure it's not boring inside your. Well, it's not boring inside anybody's mind, really. We just have to learn how to attend to it skillfully. Okay. All sorts of birthday greetings to Sakula. Um, let's see. Okay, one last question from Eleanor. Do you have favorite activities or things to do? Uh, it depends. And those. Certainly, nature is in terms of things that being in nature is somehow really pleasing. So that's a favorite thing. And so whether it's just being here at the monastery, or going somewhere, for a trip somewhere or something, that to see natural settings. It's really that's certainly yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it is about 7:45, and I think that's it for the day. Lovely to spend time with you all, and yeah, just to enjoy your day. Change of weather. Uh, okay, take care, everyone. Bye bye.